welcome to a new episode of the Growth Podcast, where we talk to great founders, um, interesting people doing interesting things, and we just want to find out what they are doing and just learn from them and get inspired by them. And we here today we have Jason. He's the CEO of Nodalli. I think I pronounced that correctly.
Yeah.
So like an AI-powered networking platform that helps students and professionals connect faster and more effectively. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for agreeing to be a guest.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So probably we can start by just going back to the beginning, who was Jason as a kid, what was Jason's background growing up, and we're interested to know what that looked like and how exactly that shaped you to be the person you are now.
How far you want to go back?
I mean, as far as you want to go.
Okay. Well, I grew up in Scarborough, in just outside of Toronto, and that was actually a big influence in sort of my journey, because in Scarborough there's a lot of projects, right? A lot of people don't have much, so I had to work from the age of 12 actually. I did jobs in these restaurants where I just wash the dishes and they pay me cash because I wasn't old enough to work.
Right.
So working hard for money came kind of naturally to me, and that played a big part in my goal I had in university when I was in Toronto Metropolitan University, trying to make as much money as possible after graduating. And the best way I found to do that, at least at that time and with what I knew, was going into this thing called investment banking. It's a job where they pay you pretty well out of university, but it's super hard to get into. And oftentimes you need to be in a particular program or school like a Queen's or a Western, which are known for their business programs. I was at TMU, which was not known for the business program, so I had to tackle that hurdle. But only a few people had done that from my university ever. Maybe 5 students had got into investment banking. And I made that my goal. And I was doing pretty well at achieving it. I was running Canada's largest student-run finance club called Invest Insights. I had the 4.0, founded a bunch of other groups. But sort of the biggest time sink for me was actually networking. There's a lot of networking you have to do to get a job in investment banking. You probably have to meet the entire team before you can even get an interview. And I was doing pretty well. I was spending all my time. Still had 2 part-time jobs actually, still paying off school. And I was getting pretty close to my goal until my mom actually fell ill. She got into an accident, and she needed me to stay at home to sort of just help around the house, take care of her. And on top of that, she was the sort of breadwinner in the family. She was paying all the bills, so she couldn't work, and someone had to. So I took extra shifts at McDonald's, Tommy Hilfiger, and all the time that I was supposed to be investing in achieving this goal to getting into banking was just gone. And I'm like, okay, so am I just gonna give up that dream? I didn't know what to do. But I thought of this crazy idea. I'm like, okay, I've never wrote a single line of code in my life, but what if by some miracle I can, crunch this out in the weekend, learn as much as I can, and maybe build some automations to automate some parts of my life. And maybe that would give me some time back that I could use to still pursue this goal. And that's exactly what I did. My hero was Course Hero. My favorite professor was Professor Chegg. Taught me a lot about writing those first lines of code. And I was actually able to build a simple automation that automatically scraped websites, identified people, and then used AI to reach out to them. And that was actually enough to get me over 150 coffee chats. And at the same time, I still had enough time to, because I wasn't sending all these cold emails, finding people, following up, I used that time to actually help out at home, take more shifts at work. And eventually, through all those coffee chats, I met everybody at TD Securities, and they gave me a shot at an interview. And when that interview came, I did not leave my house for 7 days, just studying up, just preparing. And have you heard of something called the Super Day?
Super Day now.
So, do you know any investment bankers?
No, okay.
So, to get into investment banking, you have to do this thing called a super day, which is back to back to back to back to back interviews for 3 hours. So, when I did that, I did so many coffee chats that I just knew everybody on the interview lineup. I just felt like catching up with them. And as a result of that, I was able to get that job in investment banking. So worked there for a bit, then moved over to the buy side, private equity for a little bit. Realized that I actually loved just operating the business. And then now I moved on to Nodalli Technologies full time. So that's what we're doing now.
Wow, that's that's a lot of details. Just going back a bit, so like from when you were a child, like did you know you wanted to become an entrepreneur? It was just like full time like investment banking.
I knew that. So in like elementary school, high school, no, I wanted to be a soccer player. So that's one type of entrepreneur. But I always knew that I wanted to sort of lead people. I wanted to kind of bring people together and lead them to achieve an ambitious goal. I always knew that, and that really came out to me in university when I started all these different investment groups and was the president of my economics club. What really brought me joy was not like the events that we put together or the products that we built. It was the team and bringing people together and watching them grow and develop, and then leading them to become. At the time, it was the fastest scaling organization at the university. So it was those experiences that taught me that this is what I want to do in the long term.
Right. Fair. And I think you've kind of mentioned a bit about community. Like I see from like your LinkedIn, like you're pretty much like involved in a lot of communities. You started a lot of them, and when you were in uni, I guess like I'm even curious, like what's sort of like brought the passion for for I guess wanting to build a community and like just lead a community and like drive them to like achieve their goals.
Yeah, great question. It goes back again to university. So in university, I probably was in like 14 different organizations, and that was intentional. I won a good amount of awards for the contributions I made to the community, and it was the reason why I spent actually more time on community building than my actual academics or anything else, or hanging out with my friends or anything else was because I really enjoyed, as I mentioned, working together to achieve a common vision, but more importantly, impacting the lives of individuals and the array of individuals that are associated with that one person. For example, there was an event that we hosted with with Investa Insights, and that's the finance club that we ran, where we got together a bunch of resources, thousands of dollars, and used that to purchase sort of like courses and buy mentors for those in the BIPOC community, particularly Black students.
Okay.
And a number of them actually were able to secure roles in high finance as a result of that program. And not only did we sort of create the opportunity for that one person, but now they're going to go on to be to have that experience in high finance and make a great wage that's going to change their family lineage. We had people come from like Scarborough and other rough areas like Jane and Finch, where me and my co-founder grew up. And without opportunities like this, they would have been sort of destined for maybe like let's just say like a less fortunate career.
Right.
So by helping that one student, we helped not only them, but their parents and their kids and their family that are coming thereafter.
Fair enough. And what did you study in university?
What do you think?
Finance.
Wow, crazy guess. Double major economics and finance.
Yeah, economics and finance. So like I'm curious. So like with all of those things that were kind of going on, did school suffer? And the reason why I ask is because like I was also listening to like sound like a Mr. Beast. I think you're familiar with Mr. Beast.
Sounds familiar.
So, yeah. So like apparently like is this crazy like super like ultra focused guy, and like from like his young age he was like, no, I want to do YouTube, I want to do YouTube.
Yeah.
And like it kind of made that his goal. So it's like every other thing kind of took a secondary place, including school. Apparently like he just dropped out. So like my question to you is, with all of those things and knowing fully well that you wanted to be in like investment, financing, and also like lead a community, and being involved in all of these things, how were you able to like balance that with school life and making sure like school isn't suffering while all of this is going on?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think like it's actually like a common misconception that you can balance a wide variety of really time-consuming and holistically consuming activities and initiatives. I think there's like some cases, some very rare cases, like a Elon Musk, where they make it possible. But I think for the most part, it's not about it's not about balancing things. It's about picking what you're going to sacrifice and prioritizing. So for me in university, to be in all these clubs, I sacrificed grades, or I sacrificed my time in school, or I just didn't hang out with my friends. I just missed a bunch of birthdays.
Right.
But kind of life operates, or at least the way I see it, life operates in seasons, where there's a season for play, where you sacrifice more of your career development, but you use that time for bonding, building friendships, and deep relationships, because that's extremely important. And then there's seasons of work, where you don't see your friends as often. You lock yourself in a room for days, like when I was preparing for the super day for investment banking. I didn't talk to anybody for 7 days. People thought I was dead. And that led to prosperity. For my last 2 birthdays now, those are actually, on my birthday, were the hardest days I've ever worked. Like 16 hours straight, had to cancel like trips to Montreal and things like that, in order to kind of create that prosperity, that career opportunity for myself that's going to allow me to have a season of play, a season of fun. So it was never about balancing all these important things at once. It was about picking what to sacrifice at what particular time and what to prioritize. And prioritization is simply just strategy, life strategy.
Okay. So awesome. That's fair. So yeah, going back to investment banking, and so like you were working in a couple of investment firms, and also like I think TD Securities as an investment analyst, and I think at some point a risk analyst, and in between all of those things, I guess I'm kind of wondering, like in terms of timelines, while all of those were going on, and like how does that relate to like Nodalli being founded, and you mentioned like your mother getting sick and all of those things. So like I guess what did that period kind of look like? Because it looks like you're in like an high flying career pathway, like within like a couple years you're probably like making your millions, but now you're having to like go back and like run a startup that is like super tough.
It's hard.
So like what did that look like?
So the timeline is this. I got my first job in TD Securities in risk, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
And before that, I didn't even know what finance was. I double majored in economics and finance, but I went to university to become a UN economist. Because my ultimate goal was to support my family in the Philippines using my technical expertise. So I'm like, let me just be the best economist I could be, join the UN, and then create research for supporting a developing nation. So that went out the window when I learned how much money investment bankers make. And I'm like, I could just take this money and utilize the social capital principle, which is take as much money as you can, and if you give it to a good person, that person will do good with those resources and put it back into the community. So I'm like, let me become as wealthy as possible, and then take those resources and then support my community in the Philippines in a different way. So when I discovered high finance at TD Securities the first time, that's when I set my goal on creating wealth through that pathway, and then eventually getting to this goal of amassing the wealth so I can reinvest in my community. So I'm like, okay, I need to get into banking because that's the that's the best way I know how to make money, or a lot of money out of university. So that was my second year of university. That's when I started the grind to get into investment banking. Started my university's first intercollegiate finance club. Invested a lot of time into my grades to improve them. Studied technicals, discounted cash flow analysis, leverage buyouts, M&A, comparative companies analysis, present transactions, all these important financial concepts to do really well in the interviews. And that's when I mentioned I was maxed out, I was burnt out, but I was like passionate. I was so close to achieving my goal. Then when my mom got sick, like my stomach dropped, man, because I realized that I had to give up this one goal that was going to save not only me, not only my family, but then also those communities in the Philippines I was ultimately trying to support. So that's where Nodalli was born, when I automated some of that process and I was able to save me, save my family, and then allow me to still achieve my goal, become a top 1% networker while still spending time with my friends, family, and developing my career.
Right.
So then I got into corporate banking, which is helping large multi-billion-dollar public companies get loans. And then eventually that was a good stepping stone to my ultimate goal, which was investment banking. Then when I got to investment banking, I realized this is not the goal at all. There's actually more after that, which is creating impact now and not later. And there's also other vehicles to building wealth while you can create impact, like entrepreneurship and starting a company. So that ultimately led to Nodalli where it is today, where today we facilitated thousands of coffee chats. We've changed the lives of thousands of individuals, and if they each support maybe 1 to 3 others, tens of thousands of individuals. Doing that all while still having revenue as one of our KPIs. So we're able to create wealth while creating impact at the same time.
Right.
And I no longer have to spend all my time just maximizing shareholder value as an investment banker.
Right. Okay, cool. And I think when we first met, our discussion in the Founders Connect, where you won the 5K grant. I think you mentioned that. So like, you built it essentially for yourself, and like as you mentioned, you got like 150 coffee chats while not like even doing any work at all. Then like your friends started reaching out to you. Like, oh yeah, this thing is working, can I jump in? And so like, what was that process like? And like getting your first customers, getting your first paid customers, and like, I think like your school, like, got interested in it and all. Can you talk through that?
Yeah, it was actually, it's pretty funny because I think oftentimes as we experience, founders are looking for a problem to solve rather than instead solving a problem for themselves and then going outwards that way. So it's a huge struggle for most founders to find that product market fit, that founder market fit, because they're looking externally for problems. But for me, I built this tool for myself and nobody else. And actually nobody else. I didn't want to give it to anybody.
Right.
When my friend said, hey, can I use that same software that you use to get coffee chats? I'm like, hell no, it's mine. I built this for me. Unless you like could pay me a bunch of money, I'm not giving it out. And he's like, fine, how's $100? I'm like, $100? Like, do I have to do anything? He's like, no, just give it to me. Like, let me use it. I'm like, okay. So he gave me $100 and I didn't do anything. It was like, I just gave him the password to the login or the software. So I'm like, oh my God, like that was pretty easy. And then I started giving it to more people and they were getting coffee chats and then eventually jobs. And those students were the president of the economics club, the president of the society for the faculty of arts. And they're like, oh, can we actually get this in bulk and buy this in bulk for our students? So I'm like, oh, 30 of you want this? Oh my God, this is actually like a viable business. And then naturally, it just kind of turned into like a business without even me like asking to be an entrepreneur.
Right.
And now I'm realizing that was actually such a good blessing. Because instead of going through all the struggles and the trials and tribulations of searching for product market fit, Nodalli was born with it. by creating it for me in the first place.
Right.
So that's how it started, and now we were approached by institutions actually globally. We've been talking with institutions in Mexico, India, South Africa, Saudi Arabia, to run these programs and to implement the software in those institutions. So yeah, it was kind of just a natural way of growing instead of it being like synthesized.
Right. So yeah, like it looks to me like you also, since you are sort of like in all of these clubs, like you're sort of like in the network of all of these individuals. So like it just makes sense. Like yeah, like pretty much, yeah. So like the presidents of all of those clubs, they're like, oh yeah, we're bringing this to the community. So it's like it kind of solved, like you mentioned, like the product market fit, the founder market fit, and it also solved like the distribution.
Yeah.
For you, where like literally like there are already people like begging for you to use it, and obviously like your school picked it up, then I think like DMZ also picked it up. As well, I guess maybe you could talk through like what that looked like, you know.
Yeah. So once we started getting that traction,
Yeah.
then we started getting like obviously the product and the program started coming across the desks of more senior people in the industry and in the venture space, and they're like, oh, this is actually this could be a great business. You should look at getting into some accelerators. You should be looking at securing some resources to expand this business and actually make it global. So as a result of that, we started speaking with people at accelerators, and there was one person in particular that I used to get a lot of product advice from named Yinka.
Okay.
Do you know Yinka?
No, I don't.
You gotta know Yinka.
Okay.
Yinka, oh my god. This guy was there from day one, and he saw when Nodalli was more of a manual process to what it is today.
Right.
He's a lead for the Black Innovation Program here at the DMZ.
Okay.
And he sort of was the impetus for us applying to DMZ, which is one of the world's #1 ranked incubators.
Right.
So that process was pretty grueling because as the DMZ focuses on tech, but I didn't have a technical co-founder.
Right.
So yes, I could build the initial set of software, but if I wanted to be a scalable and viable solution, you need someone with a tech background.
Right.
And that's where I met my co-founder Daniel in the basement of a party. Yeah, in the basement of a party. But the thing is, it was the person hosting it was an entrepreneur. So there's a bunch of entrepreneurs at the party, and this guy was live streaming with this. He's like, "Hey, chat, like, I'm gonna be a bartender now," and he starts making drinks. I'm like, "Hey, let me get a drink,"
All right.
and he actually made me a drink, and then we started chopping it up, and it turns out he actually was a startup founder, started many companies in the past, and he just left his last one, so now he's looking to start a new one. So we paired up, and that created a nice foundation and team to bring on others that supported the vision, and then eventually break into the DMZ,
Right. Where
now in the last quarter alone we secured over $40,000 in grants through competitions like you saw, and then also just general applications. So far it's been a phenomenal experience.
Oh, awesome. And I also saw that like you represented Canada at the, I think it's G20.
Yeah.
Young Entrepreneurs Alliance.
Mhm.
So I guess what did that look like? It's like essentially like, you're representing the whole country.
Yeah. Man, I almost forgot about that. Incredible imposter syndrome considering that we just started months prior. But yeah, we got selected to represent Canada on the global stage at the G20 summit. We were one of few of the Canadian delegates that got sent there. And are you familiar with what the G20 summit is?
Not too well.
Under the summer.
Yeah.
So it's basically a annual event where the top 20 countries in terms of international trade, population, meet up to discuss international policy, align on global goals. I think they make up about 85% of population, 75%, 65% of international trade. So decisions that are made there, the alignments that are made there, the business dealings that are made there are indicative of where the global economy is going. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we were sent there. So the Canadian delegate was made up of a wide variety of Canadian entrepreneurs. A lot of them being in more traditional businesses. So they brought together, so the Canadian delegate was a mixture of like traditional companies like manufacturing, and then more sort of new innovative companies like ours.
Right.
So we were there to represent sort of the young AI startup sort of archetype. So going there, what happened was there was a bunch of speakers, a bunch of bilateral meetings where one delegate would just go into a room with another delegate and throw questions at one another. It was like it was interesting. So all the like Indian delegates would line up there, all the Canadians line up here, and one by one you'd like shoot questions at each other. You'd ask about their business environment, how we can break in, who here can help us do this. That was the most beneficial part for us. And there's even a pitch competition where some of the top delegates from each country competed, and Canada won that.
Ooh.
So Canada's really getting put on the map, seriously. And sort of the most interesting observation from that entire summit was that the business deals and the business meetings were actually, it was more likely that you're going to secure them outside the venue rather than in the actual conference.
Okay.
Because after every single day of the conference, everybody met up at this place called Saints. Saints, there's nothing holy about that place. It was funny because you see all the delegates, suit and tie, very conservative, and then at Saints, everything comes off, and there's bottles everywhere, and everyone was just having a good time, and more deals got closed there than the actual conference, which was interesting.
Right.
Because I guess when you're letting loose, you can, there's more opportunity to build a sense of trust, and it really taught us and the other Canadian delegates how to operate on an international level, and the different values of different regions would have. For example, Mexicans especially, they were the most fun out of all the delegations, in my opinion. If there was an award for craziest delegation, it'd go to them. Because everywhere you go, they'd always have the Mexican flag thrown around, playing some Mexican music, and they really like to get to know you outside of outside of business before they actually do a business deal with you.
Right.
Them Indians are very similar, and the Saudis, surprisingly, very conservative during the conference, of course, but outside, they're a lot more lax. So doing cross-cultural business was a highlight there, and that's where we got the opportunity for Nodalli to meet the sort of presidents of various educational institutions, staffing agencies, mentorship programs that we're now currently working with. So overall, it's really cool, and that's not to mention that Africa is a beautiful continent, man. We did safaris, paragliding, hiking, all that stuff. Man, I can't wait to go back. I'm gonna probably go back in maybe April.
Oh, nice. So like coming back to Nodalli for a second. So like, what's the business model like?
So we have two sort of streams of revenue. There's the B2C, where individuals could purchase the software individually. And that's like your traditional SaaS model. So you pay $19 a month. But currently, in our current stage, we have an onboarding process where you pay a bit extra for the first month, but then we give you this white glove service where a representative actually personally onboards you. They give you a whole strategy on how you're going to achieve your goals through networking. It gives you like a nice 6-month roadmap. So you could actually just use the app with intention, not just spray and pray networking.
Right.
Then there's also the B2B revenue stream, where we partner with universities, colleges, any sort of educational institution, or organization that supports job seekers, even staffing agencies, mentorship programs, where we run programs, like whole programs with them. We do networking workshops. Of course, we provide them with our application, but then we also do data monitoring on a particular cohort. So, for example, like if Toronto Metropolitan University paid us maybe $4,000 to do a cohort of 60 students, we'd monitor the data for those students and say, hey, this student isn't networking, it hasn't set a coffee chat in 2 weeks. You should look into that and have a one-on-one conversation with them to get them up to speed. Okay. This student did 20 coffee chats this week. You should reward them. So we could actually provide allocate specific resources to particular students based on the data.
Right.
And we can also take that data of the cohort. We can say this entire cohort did 1,000 coffee chats in 6 months. We take that data, we go to funders like the government or or depends what organization you're getting funded by, and you can leverage that data, that impact data, for more funding. You can say, hey, I'm Toronto Metropolitan University. Using your money, I created 4,000 coffee chats. I have this machine. If you put $1 in, you get a coffee chat out. Give me more money. And that works. That's what we've done for a number of organizations.
Right.
So we have the B2B and the B2C.
Okay, nice. So it sounds similar currently, your North Star metrics beyond revenues is just coffee chats. So what do you see as the long-term vision for Nodalli?
So the number one study on happiness, or the longest run study on happiness was conducted by Harvard, and it indicated that your level of happiness at death is not influenced by, or the number one factor influencing your happiness at death is not money, it's not fame. We probably agree, we probably don't know it's relationships, but it's not even the quantity of relationships, it's the quality. So now if I were to ask you, what tools do you use to optimize the quality of relationships? Like what? Genuine question. What do you use? LinkedIn, Instagram.
Right.
Is that really optimizing the quality of relationships? Right. There's no one tool that's optimizing that for us, right? Which is crazy because that's the number one indicator of a happy life, the quality of relationships. So why? I don't know actually. So I don't know, but I'm going to build that for myself. I'm going to build the platform that's going to allow me to foster my relationship with you, foster a relationship with my friends, make sure that I don't miss birthdays, make sure that if I haven't talked to my mom in 3 months, that I follow up and have a conversation with her, that automatically actually can craft a message to her and say, hey, we should catch up. And not only to my mom, but all of my close friends, to ensure that they don't slip through my fingers and we forget about each other.
Right. So I have a deeper question to that. So with a lot of automation, because I also use a bit of automation, and what I find is, as much as we want to try to use the automations to build connection, but in terms of the actual human to human relationship, sort of we're kind of taking the human out of the equation.
No, I don't agree with that at all.
But I guess let me kind of make my point. We're sort of using AI and automation to get do the reach out, composing the message, and all of those things. So I guess my question is, how do you ensure that the human in that equation is not actually excluded if all of the conversation and all of the the actual networking, the reaching out, the discussions is happening just with the AIs. So imagine there's an AI on this side that is that is reaching out to people to oh yeah, can I have a coffee chat with you? But imagine on the other side there's also an AI that is also responding, oh yeah, I'll check my calendar, oh yeah, it's actually they are just two AI just conversing to actually figure out the situation. Only when the call is booked is actually when the actual humans come into play, and they may or may not have context on what might have been discussed prior to that coffee chat getting booked. That's kind of my question. How do you make sure that the human in that whole equation is still engaged in the actual networking?
Great question. And the point of these platforms or these automations is to get rid of all the stuff that prevents those two people from building that deep relationship. So for example, in your example, you mentioned that on the other side there might be an AI that's saying that's actually saying, yeah, let's have a conversation. But that would be poorly designed. You don't want to just have a conversation. You don't want to just have a conversation with anybody. That person that you're reaching out to actually wants to see who they're going to set time up with. So in that software, in a way, should summarize the message that was received and present the information to the professional, and the professional should make a decision of yes or no. And then all the other fluff is handled by the software. So the only thing that this human is doing is building that relationship and actually interacting with the person. I think of it like cooking. The sort of the best part of, like, if I were to ask you, okay, I'll give you $1,000,000 if you could be the best chef, if you can make me a beautiful dish in a month from now.
Right.
How are you gonna get really good at cooking? You're going to cook as much as possible. But before you can even start cooking, you need to go to the grocery store, you drive there, you need to pick out the ingredients, then you need to bring them home, then you need to cut up and prep the ingredients, then you can start cooking. But if I gave you an assistant that did all of that stuff for you, and all you did was sit in the kitchen, look at recipes, and say, I want to cook that. Assistant, go get me the stuff and prep it for me. Boom, it's in front of you. Now you can start cooking. Now swap out cooking for this connection. I want to build connections. I want to build relationships. But if before I can even build a relationship, I have to go and source a list of 100 people, go through each one, and then I have to craft this message, and then I have to do follow-ups, then I have to handle the reply sequences. All I want to do is just understand who this person is, understand if I actually want to reach out to them, and then speak with them.
Right.
You know? I don't want to go to the grocery store. I don't want to deal with all this other stuff. I just want to build connections.
Right, right. So you sort of envision a future where like the AI does a lot of the mundane stuff, and I guess just at the final point of action, then probably that gives you like a report of everything that's happened so far, and you get on a sense of, oh yeah, like, okay, I'm interested in this, and I click on the button and like it just schedules the call, essentially.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, fair.
And
Yeah.
when it comes to Nodalli, sort of the main concern that you might have based on what you just said is, okay, I don't want it to write for me. Because that might not sound like me.
Right.
We put a lot of effort into training our agents specifically on sounding like you. We feed it your emails, we feed it your writing styles. So it says things that you'd actually say. And obviously it has to show you what it's written for you. So if it doesn't sound like you, we make it easier than ever to edit. All you gotta do is literally just say, that doesn't sound like me because it's not funny enough. I'm more funny.
Right.
Or I'm more formal. Or I like more detailed messages. And it will adjust like that. And over time, the more it works with you, the more it understands your writing style, and the more it actually is able to, the more it gets rid of that problem of an AI simply just writing for you and not sound like you at all.
Correct.
So we train our models specifically to sound like you, and therefore you're going to write that anyways. Let's just use a computer to write it for you.
Right. Okay, so an even broader question, because like a lot of companies right now, like are kind of laying off a lot of people, and a lot of the attribution is due to like, oh, AI is already doing it. So like, I guess why do I need humans? AI is doing this, and like I think just a few days ago, like Amazon laid off 14,000 people. That's kind of what was said, that like other companies have done. I guess I'm kind of like curious, as to like your thoughts, seeing as though like you're also building something that is also in that space, in the AI space. The AI, will basically be acting as a networking assistant. So potentially we could say like, the roles of like content writers, it probably takes that away. The roles of like, maybe executive assistants potentially takes that away. So like, I'm kind of curious what your thoughts are, what that looks like.
So like, what are my thoughts on my company sort of taking away the jobs of certain types of
Like
people?
potentially like, with more systems like this, potentially like taking jobs away from humans.
Yeah. Well, I think this conversation's been discussed pretty thoroughly at this point, and I think it's the consensus school of thought is there'll always be more jobs. New jobs will be created that we couldn't even comprehend before. Prompt engineer getting paid $200,000 a year, that wasn't even a job 5 years ago, right? So we can't even imagine what jobs will be produced as a result of this. And these companies that are coming out, they're actually creating jobs for people as well. So one, there'll be new jobs that we never thought of. Two, there'll actually be more companies because entrepreneurship and building a sustainable business is much more accessible. That will create jobs in and of itself. But right now we are going through a tough period where Um, a lot of people are getting laid off. There are hiring freezes. Companies are benefiting from a smaller workforce, uh, both um, financially and operationally, which is why we are here at the perfect time. We're here to help facilitate the transition from those that were in sort of the old age jobs into new age jobs. Through conversations, they can learn about the new roles going on, and through conversations, they can, and then after training themselves in the skills necessary to acquire those new roles, they can actually use those connections to attain them. For example, if someone gets laid off because they're a copywriter at this point, they're like, oh, like my job's being automated. That sucks. Let me use Nodalli to maybe find a new job. They use Nodalli. They meet with a wide variety of people in the industry, and they learned about prompt engineering. Never heard of that before, but someone mentioned it to me, and they said there's a role. They said they're not hiring for copywriters, but they're hiring for prompt engineers that can use AI to copyright. Oh, that's interesting. It's kind of up my alley. Let me go skill up in that area. They go, they skill up, and they go back to that person they met through Nodalli and say, hey, I skilled up. What's that prompt engineering job you're talking to me about before? And actually, they go ahead and they secure that job through that connection that they made through Nodalli. So we're here in the perfect time when unemployment is running rampant. 14-15% youth unemployment in Canada, 64% in South Africa, and it's running rampant not only in these areas but globally. And we're here to kind of tame that, bring that down, address that during the transition to the point where the new jobs are created, and they might not even need a tool like Nodalli, like these new AI job applications, to go and secure them.
Okay, fair enough. So yeah, we'll just wrap up. Just a few, I guess, things. So like, if you could, have a word of advice, for your younger self, what would that be?
For my younger self,
Yeah.
it would 100% be join a community where the people in that community are aligned on the goal that you want to achieve. For example, if your goal is to start a world-class company, join an accelerator, incubator, or community and the like. I think just by the one decision to join the DMZ, that has led to a wide variety of benefits that would not have been attainable if we were trying to go for each one individually. It's so high leverage. By joining the DMZ, we got hundreds of hours of training through their mentorship, and we've been paired and surrounded by entrepreneurs that are doing that have very similar goals and that have made mistakes that we can learn from to circumvent them. And then opportunities like pitches that I met you at, and fundraising opportunities, and a whole other host of things that weren't even on my radar before joining this community. So if you take one action, and that action is to join a community of like-minded individuals, everything will fall into place just naturally.
Okay, awesome. That was like the second question I was going to advise aspiring entrepreneurs, but I think that's already like a great advice.
Yeah.
Finally, maybe you could just look at the camera and just tell people what Nodalli is about, and for people that are I guess looking for jobs, like looking to make connections, how do they join the community, stuff like that.
Yeah. So I will pay you $20 if my AI agents don't get you a coffee chat. And the way they do that is for job seekers, it'll automatically identify people, reach out to them for you with about a 40% reply rate. And when they reply, it automatically books those conversations into your calendar's coffee chat. So this used to take me 25 hours, takes about 2 minutes now. And as I mentioned, if it can't get you a coffee chat, it'll pay you $20 automatically. And the reason why we focus on coffee chats and Nodalli is because the way to get a job now is not by cold applying. You go on LinkedIn, you see a new job that came out an hour ago, there's already 200 applications. It's a lot of AI slop. You need to network and get in front of the person that's on the other side of the interview table in order to actually secure that position. Youth unemployment is running rampant around the world, and we need to build tools and solutions and programs to address this before our youth don't have experience, and we don't create the labor force necessary to sustain our economy 5 years down the line. So you can join Nodalli.com as a individual just by going to Nodalli.com and signing up, or if you're an organization, you could actually make a real impact to your members, but also your broader community by reaching out to us on Nodalli.com and partnering with us to run a program to support your members and job seekers.
Awesome. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure talking to you. Thanks all.